The Glacier Agreement. Subtitle: The Treaty That Sold the Planet. Chapter 1. The Signing. It was supposed to be the dawn of salvation. At 3:42 a.m., under the flicker of polar lights, 4 aircraft landed on the ice runway near Thule Air Base. The passengers were not tourists nor soldiers, but something far more dangerous. Negotiators. They came from the world's most powerful nations. No flags, no journalists, no cameras. Their destination was a reinforced steel dome buried in the ice, a decommissioned radar station now repurposed as the Arctic Climate Accord facility. Inside, a single document awaited their signatures: the Glacier Agreement. On paper, it was a historic climate pact, a promise to save the world by managing Arctic resources cooperatively. In reality, it was an ownership contract, a global deed, a silent exchange of sovereignty for survival. The signatories understood one thing: the ice was melting faster than the world could adapt, and whoever controlled Greenland would control the planet's last untapped reserves of water, power, and life. Chapter 2. The Promise. When the news broke, the world cheered. Headlines declared, "Historic Arctic Alliance formed to stop climate collapse." Markets surged. The Arctic became the new hope of civilization. On live television, the world's leaders stood together, smiling under banners of blue and white. 1,000 speeches spoke of unity, sacrifice, and the planet's shared destiny. But in the fine print, buried on page 1204 of an unread appendix, was a clause titled Operational Custodianship. It transferred full management of Greenland's newly stabilized zones to a single entity, Arctic Global, a private climate consortium backed by every government that signed. A company with no headquarters, no accountability, and no visible owners. While the public celebrated a new era of cooperation, the real work began in secret: drilling, mining, and harvesting under the guise of environmental restoration. The glaciers were no longer protected. They were privatized. Chapter 3. The scientist Dr. Lara Madsen had spent half her life studying ice. She believed it was memory, nature's archive. Every layer, every trapped bubble of air, a record of the Earth's conscience. When she was invited to join Arctic Global as chief data advisor, she said yes without hesitation. It felt like purpose, science, finally guiding politics, not the other way around. But within months, purpose turned to suspicion. Her research reports were censored, her field data rewritten. Entire glacier cores vanished overnight from secured labs. And one morning, while reviewing encrypted files, she stumbled on a directory mislabeled Hydrological Simulations. Inside were spreadsheets, not of ice, but of revenue, projections of trillions in profit tied to extraction sites mapped beneath the Arctic's protected zones. At the top of the files, in a signature block, was a name she wasn't supposed to see: the Glacier Agreement. Annex C, confidential distribution, founders only. The climate rescue she had joined wasn't saving the planet. It was selling it, piece by piece. Chapter 4. The Discovery. Alara knew the risks of curiosity. She had read the fine print of her employment contract. Disclosure of proprietary material constitutes a threat to global security. Still, she started copying the data. Night after night, she archived gigabytes onto an encrypted drive hidden inside her equipment case. What she found next changed everything. Among the data sets was a model labeled Thaw Timeline 2032. It wasn't a prediction. It was a target. The model simulated accelerated melting, geoengineered warming, meant to expose deeper mineral layers. Arctic Global wasn't mitigating climate change, it was manufacturing it. And the governments that signed the Glacier Agreement knew. They had built a controlled collapse of the ice, an artificial disaster to feed their energy economies for another century. The plan was called Project Helios, and its success required silence. Chapter 5. The Warning. Ilara reached out to the only person she trusted, a former colleague turned journalist named Jonas Wahl. They met in Reykjavik under the cover of the Northern Lights. He listened in disbelief as she described the files, the models, the artificial melting. Then she handed him the drive. "If this is true," he whispered, "this isn't science. It's warfare." "It's both," she said. "They're melting the planet to save themselves." 2 days later, Jonas was dead. His car found at the bottom of a fjord. Police called it an accident. Ilara knew it wasn't. She disappeared the next day, off the grid, leaving behind only one encrypted message. If the ice melts faster than the models, check who profits. Chapter 6. The leak. Months passed. Then one morning, a small environmental blog posted an anonymous upload. Title: The Glacier Agreement, Annex C. At first, no one believed it. The documents looked too detailed, too vast, too incriminating. But as analysts and activists verified each line, the truth hardened like refreezing ice. It was real. The world had signed away its conscience for convenience. Governments had privatized the Arctic to sustain their own economies while preaching sacrifice to their citizens. The story went viral. Major networks scrambled to deny it. Then their own archives leaked. Emails, briefings, contracts, all bearing the same signatures. The lie was global, and now it was exposed. Chapter 7. The Collapse. The consequences came like avalanches. Protests erupted from London to Seoul. Thousands of scientists resigned from international climate councils. Governments fell within weeks. Stock markets froze, literally. Trading halted as investors fled climate-linked portfolios. Arctic Global's board vanished from public record. The company's servers were wiped clean in coordinated cyber attacks traced to multiple intelligence agencies. A silent war to erase guilt before it could be proven. But the data was already mirrored, archived, and decentralized. Ilara had ensured it. When the truth belongs to everyone, it can't be buried. Chapter 8. The Reckoning. In The Hague, an emergency tribunal convened. For the first time in history, environmental exploitation was tried as a crime against humanity. Former ministers testified. Diplomats wept on camera. Every defense was the same. We acted to save civilization. The prosecutor's response became the quote of the century. You didn't save civilization, you commodified it. Broadcasts of the trial were watched by billions. The world saw the architects of the Glacier Agreement, the smiling faces that once promised hope, now trembling behind glass walls. When the verdict was read, the narrator's voice carries the weight of an entire planet waking up. History doesn't remember the hands that built paradise. It remembers the ones that melted it. Chapter 9. The Aftermath. The years that followed were chaotic. Markets rebuilt, new treaties formed, and Greenland, once the pawn of global ambition, declared independence. Its people took back control of their land, banning all extraction for 50 years. The island became a sanctuary for climate research and for truth. A memorial was built at the site of the old Arctic Global Base. It was a simple sculpture, of frozen glass, encasing a single document, the Glacier Agreement, a signature still visible beneath the ice. Chapter 10. The Legacy. No one ever found Alara Madsen. Some say she vanished into the tundra. Others believe she was living under another name, somewhere beyond the reach of politics. But one winter night, as the aurora rippled over the sky, a drone captured a transmission from an unregistered station near the Arctic Circle. A female voice, faint, steady, familiar, whispered into the static, "You can own the land, you can own the ice, but you can't own the truth." The signal ended, and the world finally understood what the ice had been trying to say all along, that every layer of the planet's memory remembers who betrayed it and who tried to save it. This is the end. Our team loves it when you subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much for listening.